friends, my name is Annie Pasquinelli, and welcome back to another episode of Superhero Saturday, where we talk about the art of superhero storytelling and so much more. And today we're going to talk a lot about both superheroes and storytelling. As you might remember from a couple of videos back, in January I entered the nationwide short story test put on by a company by NYC Midnight, where contestants are given a subject, a character, and a genre, and told to write a 2,000-word short story within the span of just a couple of days. I did write the short story, although I got a really uncomfortable genre for me, which was horror. And, you know, I gave it my best shot, and I submitted the story, and I was like, all right, let's wait and see what happens. Well, guess what, super friends? I got 4th place on... Sorry, I just had to do a little celebration dance right there. So getting 4th place in the first round means that I get to advance to the second round, which took place actually this last weekend. It's the same kind of format, a little bit shorter story, but the same idea, just a couple of days to write a short story with the assigned genre, subject, and character. And this time I scored, because my genre was comedy, and my subject was an ultimatum, and the character was a street performer. And what do all of those 3 things sound like together to you? I don't know, but to me it sounded like the perfect opportunity to write a short story about superheroes. So that's what I did. As you guys know from watching this channel, comedy is right up my alley. I may not be very funny like in person or right off the cuff all the time, but I know how to write something that will make you laugh. And I'm super experienced with superheroes, so that made this ultimatum thing totally perfect for me, because what does every supervillain do when they're threatening to take over the city? They give the superhero an ultimatum. So all this means I am super confident for this round of the competition, because I wrote the first draft of that story in 3 hours. 3 hours, folks, and then I took the whole rest of the couple days to just refine it and polish it and get every word to be as punchy and precise and beautiful as I possibly could. I even managed to squeeze in a few more jokes in there when I got some extra room. We won't know the results of this round of the competition until the next round of the competition is just about ready to start, which I believe is in May. So only gotta wait a couple of months this time and see if I maybe get to go on to the final round. I just had so much fun writing this story that I'm kind of going to give you guys a little animated-ish, story-ish, dramatic-ish retelling of the short story that I wrote. I hope you guys enjoy, and I really hope that I can make it through to the next round, because this has been so much fun, and I'm so glad this is one of the things that hasn't shut down because of quarantines. So without further ado, here is my dramatic retelling of my short story, Super Split. When Danny spotted the busker on the corner just outside the city hospital that cool August night, he should have recognized her right away. To be fair, he'd just gotten off his first double shift in the intensive care ward. He and his girlfriend broke up the week before, and he was bone tired. The small crowd might have gathered around a real-life space alien for all he could tell. Without looking, he tossed a few bucks into the collection tin and kept walking, head bowed, shoulders hunched, his thoughts on the cold, empty bed that awaited him. Then he heard the familiar maniacal laugh from behind. "You're coming with me, Danny boy!" As he whipped around, heart thumping, the world went black. 2 seconds later, or so it seemed to Danny, he was waking up in the juggler's secret lair. The old circus tent on the outskirts of the city looked far from its Technicolor heyday. Canvas walls had faded and torn under the weight of decades of neglect. Cobwebs climbed the rafters where tightrope walkers and trapeze artists once performed, and dust bunnies were the audience in the grandstand. The only cartoonish character who haunted this ghostly hall was the crazed criminal who knocked him unconscious with one of her spinning clubs. "You know, there are safer ways to kidnap people than blunt force trauma, Mina," Danny commented dryly, blinking in the bright spotlight that aggravated his new headache. "You could just ask me to accompany you, for example." "It wouldn't go with my aesthetic," she replied, a wry smile crinkling the walnut-colored skin on her nose. She prowled into the center ring where Danny was strapped to a wooden chair. Long silvery cornrows adorned with colorful bells jingled and swayed with every step. Her kaleidoscopically patterned parachute suit and bejeweled mask shimmered when she spread her arms wide. "And I'm all about aesthetic." "Of course," Danny drawled, How could I forget? The juggler bared her teeth, took a breath, and began her well-practiced monologue. I bet you're wondering why you're here, Mr. Danny Gunderson. Dr. Danny Gunderson, he interjected. Joy broke across the juggler's face. Oh, you graduated! Good for you! She cleared her throat and continued in her supervillain voice. Dr. Danny Gunderson, allow me to introduce myself. I am the creator of chaos, the shuffler of insanity, the querulous queen of quack, Yes, Mina, I know your backstory, he sighed. She froze and pursed her lips. You do? Wouldn't I after all this time? He asked. You've abducted me 5 or 6 times by now. Let's see, he said, squirming to find a more comfortable position under the restraints. You were the youngest in a family of traveling street performers and pickpockets. They never saw your full potential, were content with their life of travel and simple pleasures, and thought your dreams of entertaining the world were absurd. All you wanted was security, a steady home, and a way to make your family proud, but they rejected you, so you rejected them. You decided to strike out on your own and show them just how much of a world shaker you could be, he recounted, giving pause at the same moment the villain always did, by taking an entire city hostage with your eccentric entertainment, and so on and so forth, he concluded. She gave a short, impressed hum. I guess we have been working together a long time. I suppose I'm here to serve as leverage, he prompted, raising an eyebrow. Thrown, the juggler stuttered, Well, yes. Who else would serve as better bait for Thunderbolt than her precious boyfriend? Speaking past the lump forming in his throat, Danny responded miserably, Probably anybody else. I'm not her boyfriend anymore. Mina gasped. No! Are you serious? We were all rooting for you two. We? The supervillain community, she cried, throwing her hands up. You two were the favorite superhero OTP for years. We kept tabs on the best couples in the field, and I had a bet going with Mania Man that you two would be married by... She stopped herself, narrowing her eyes at the doctor. Her fists found the hips of her costume. Wait a minute! Is this a trick? Are you just pulling my leg so Thunderbolt can get the drop on me? Danny shook his head. Nope, it's really over between us. The juggler studied Danny's face for a moment, perplexed. I don't believe you, she decreed at last, walking over to the tripod opposite her victim and poking the mounted smartphone's screen. I'm calling her right now to give her my ultimatum. We'll see what she has to say. Ring, ring, ring. Thunderbolt's face appeared on the little screen, and Danny's heart couldn't help but break all over again. Even with the blue and yellow mask obscuring her face, Rayla Richards was the most effortlessly beautiful person he knew. Her cute little brown button nose, the way her messy bangs framed her face, the sprightly curl of her lips, even her electric bright eyes, a side effect of the accident that gave her superpowers, brought back so many memories for Danny, both good and bad, but still overwhelmingly good. Hello, Thunderbolt, the juggler announced, stepping in front of the camera. As you can see, I've got Dr. Danny Gunderson hostage in my lair. If you don't listen to my demands, then I'll feed him to my pet lion Mittens, who, I might add, hasn't had a good meal in days, the poor thing. Thunderbolt scoffed. Don't bother. I'm not saving him anymore. The juggler slapped one hand to her heart with another astonished gasp and glanced between the ex-lovers. So it's true? You have broken up? I don't know, Rayla intoned exaggeratedly, glaring at Danny through the camera. Were we ever really together if I wasn't around enough to count as his girlfriend? All I said was I wanted to spend more time with you, Danny cried. No, Rayla retorted. What you said was you don't have time to be with me. Well, at least I put in the effort, he protested. At least I come home after work instead of gallivanting around at night, stopping crime and delivering pizzas. You know I have to work that extra job to support my poor mother. I told you I would support you both, if you would just trust me. How can I trust a stranger like you? She snapped, air quotes and all. I was never good enough for you, was I? Well, neither was I. Guess we still have that in common. Like we ever had anything in common. Try hard, know it all, damsel in distress, superheroic pain in my people! the juggler bellowed, bringing them to silence and looking utterly dumbfounded. I think we've gotten a little off track here, she laughed nervously. I don't care, Thunderbolt spat. Do whatever you want to Danny. I'm not coming to his rescue. The line went dead. The juggler ogled at the blank screen. Did she just hang up on me? She spluttered. I didn't even tell her my demands yet. Call her back, Danny commanded. I want to give her a piece of my mind. Hey, pal, I'm still trying to conquer the city, remember? She retorted as she hit the redial button. And you're the hostage, in case you forgot. The juggler tapped her toe impatiently, staring at the phone as it continued to ring, unanswered. Oh, come on, pick up, you stupid! Boom! An explosion rang out from the other side of the tent. The juggler's hideout, though deceptively dilapidated, was rigged with many carnival-themed booby traps. But Thunderbolt zapped her way through them with ease. I knew it! I knew she would come for you! The juggler cheered, even as she sprinted over to begin the battle. Thunderbolt and the juggler traded swift punches and quick kicks as they circled the arena. Jolts of lightning cracked in every direction. Hacky-sack bombs burst in the air around them, narrowly missing their target every time. And Danny looked on, trapped in his seat. You know you could get yourself free instead of sitting on your behind, Thunderbolt shouted, flipping backward to avoid a jab. Sure, blame the victim, Danny found himself replying. I thought you didn't need my help. Ha! She laughed poisonously. Like that's ever stopped you before. Can we focus up, please? The juggler pleaded, swinging her clubs desperately. I'm starting to feel like a third wheel in my own home. Sorry, Mina. Bang! Pop! Pow! Danny slouched in his chair and fell silent. As the fight swirled around him and he watched the woman he once loved, all the bitter words he'd been dying to say melted away. He didn't see Thunderbolt the superhero. He saw the woman who brought him takeout when he was studying all night. He saw the woman who could take apart and reassemble a computer in the blink of an eye. He saw the woman who could eat an entire pint of ice cream on a dare, and then pay him back the cost of the carton. She was strong, compassionate, honorable, intelligent, driven, courageous, and, above all, she had made his life better in more ways than he could count. If only he had been able to show her that. Ah! Not again! The juggler cried. Before Danny had time to finish reminiscing, Thunderbolt trapped the villain in a super containment cube of her own design, which glowed brilliant blue. She dusted off the palms of her neon yellow gloves and walked over to where Danny was seated, looking as cool and collected as the Greek heroes of old. Without making eye contact, Thunderbolt bent down and released the straps that kept Danny trapped in his chair. Danny looked down at the crown of her head and said tentatively, I knew it too. Thunderbolt shrugged. I'm a superhero. It's what I do. The last strap fell loose, and Danny was able to stand. She rose up beside him and met his stare at last. Rayla, I know we have our problems, but I still love you, and I still want to be with you. Do you... He trailed off, his trepidation mounting. Do you still want to be with me? She looked away again. I don't know, Danny. We can do better, I know we can, he interrupted eagerly, trying to build on the hope he thought he had glimpsed in her gaze. We could schedule a weekly date night. We could call each other on lunch breaks. We could, I don't know, try couples meditation or goat yoga or... I said I don't know, Rayla repeated warningly, her tone more superhero than lover. He fell silent. It's not that I don't love you, Danny, she sighed wearily. I'll always come to your rescue, but we can't deny that we have some serious issues between us. It's going to take a bit more than goat yoga to make this work, she said with a sad smile, if it ever will. Danny relented. I understand, he said softly, rubbing his sore wrists absently. Are you okay? She asked. I'll live. You can find your way home? He nodded. Thunderbolt strolled away, her blue cape sparkling behind her. She left her trademark tracking symbol on the containment cube for when the police arrived, and then she lifted a fist, preparing to fly off into the starlit sky. Can I at least have my vinyl collection back? Danny called. Rayla glanced back over her shoulder and smirked. Never. She disappeared. Villainous, the juggler commented from inside the cube. And that's coming from me. Oh, be quiet. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. If you want to see more videos like this, you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button below for new videos every week. And if you want to join the team, you can hop on over to Patreon and support us over there. If you want to see more of my written content, you can go on over to our website at www.fearless9.com, where all of my books are available. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week, super friends.